Hi, welcome everyone. Today we're talking to Jason Rylander from Defenders of Wildlife. He with two other organizations filed a lawsuit for Trump to stop building the wall because wildlife there is going to die because of it. Can you tell us something more about the lawsuit?
Sure. We filed a case a week or so ago challenging President Trump's diversion of funds that were appropriated by Congress for other purposes to expedite construction of the border wall. This is something that the president has done a couple of times now, and courts have ruled that it is illegal, although it has somehow not stopped him from being able to continue to proceed with spending money on the border wall. So we will be asking a federal judge in the District of Columbia to enjoin this project and prevent him from using those misappropriated funds for construction of the wall along our southern border.
And can you tell us something about the animals there that are being threatened by the wall?
Sure. The animals in that area are really diverse. The desert ecosystems are rich with life, and many species cross the border. And so putting a border wall along that area will hinder their recovery in the United States. And that includes species like the Mexican wolf and the jaguar and the ocelot, and many, many other species that rely on that area need to get to the Rio Grande for water and need to cross the border to maintain healthy connections with other populations of species.
And how many animals are we talking about? Because I see the four here, but how, like in numbers?
Well, there are hundreds. These are some of the ones that are currently protected under the Federal Endangered Species Act, but we also have many, many other species that are not federally listed as threatened or endangered, but may be declining in populations. And even if not, will still be impacted by this artificial break in their habitats.
And could you show us somehow on this map, like from where to where is the wall now? Like
Well, it is, yeah. So if you look at there's various kinds of barriers along the southern border. Some of it is just vehicle barriers where animals can still cross. In the areas that we're most concerned about, the administration is going ahead and trying to build this, really high iron wall that doesn't allow anyone to pass very easily. So I'm just looking at the map. I mean, there's some existing border barrier everywhere you see black, and then there's new construction that's been announced in some of the yellow areas south of Arizona and New Mexico, and that's kind of where we're focusing this current litigation. We've previously sued over parts of the border wall construction over near San Diego and the different portions of the wall, and also in Texas.
And have those been successful, those previous ones you've done?
We've had a couple of different cases, and some of them are still pending. We have one case that we've brought to the U.S. Supreme Court in which we are alleging that the president's waiver of all environmental, public health, and safety laws is unconstitutional. And that case is still pending. We're waiting to see if the Supreme Court will take it up. They should make that announcement sometime earlier this summer. And if that's the case, then we'll continue to proceed with that litigation into the fall. We did just win a victory in the District of Columbia in a federal court, which allowed us to proceed with this case about misappropriation of funds. So now we're going to go ahead and brief that on the merits, and hopefully we'll be successful. Some other groups have sued over that issue in other federal courts around the country and have received favorable judgments from the courts. So we're hopeful that we will prevail and we'll be able to put a stop to this construction, or at least make sure that to the extent that there is border fortifications put up, that they are done with full environmental review and with adequate respect for the law and the ecosystems in which they're going to be placed.
Can you tell us something about Defenders of Wildlife, your organization that you work for? What is your main focus?
Sure. Now, Defenders of Wildlife is dedicated to the protection of all native species and their habitats primarily in the United States. We also work in Mexico. And so we focus a lot on the Endangered Species Act and on trying to make sure that wildlife that has become imperiled in the Americas will be able to come back, be recovered, and be part of communities for future generations.
And how long does the organization exist now?
We're at least 65 years. We've been in existence.
And in your time, what have been like the biggest?
1947, I think it is. Yeah, I'd have to go back and do the math.
It's a long time.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
what are like really big wins, like things we've heard about maybe on the news that you made happen?
Well, we've been involved in a lot of different litigation over the years. We work we don't just litigate, we also are involved in public policy efforts. We work every year to try to protect the Endangered Species Act from being weakened in Congress. We've worked on cases like the polar bear and protection of the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, and have so far successfully prevented development of the Arctic Refuge, although that's still ongoing. And we have worked very extensively over the years to recover wolves in North America. And that's a very successful application of the Endangered Species Act to bring back populations of wolves throughout the Northern Rockies and into the Pacific Northwest, and also in the Great Lakes. But we work on all kinds of species. I have worked to try to make sure that migratory bird species are protected, and that their dwindling populations can have a chance to recover. We have pretty much runs the gamut. If it has fur, feathers, scales, we have right whale cases. We have a wide range of work that we're doing to try to make sure that all of our wildlife is abundant.
And because this lawsuit that you filed, you did with 2 other organizations. Is that something the 3 of you work together a lot in filing lawsuits, or that's just in this case?
Absolutely. We have partners on this case with the Center for Biological Diversity and the Animal Legal Defense Fund. Very often, environmental organizations will work together, and we will co-counsel or vary who takes the lead on any particular matter. And it's a way that we can. And there's certainly strength in numbers, and it's a way that we can all work together to try to make sure that our objectives are met and that we can protect these places.
And what is your personal motivation to work for an environmental organization?
Well, I think it started when I was very young. I was always interested in animals, and when I realized that there was such a thing as environmental law, I kind of gravitated toward it. I mean, I'm motivated by. I have 2 kids, and I'm motivated by the fact that we are leaving behind a diminished Earth, and while I'm here, I'd like to try to avoid that. And so my work is focused on making sure that we find a way to live more sustainably, that we protect the wildlife and ecosystems that we have, and that all of the animals and plants and biotic life in this world has a chance to continue and a right to exist.